I had barely stepped into my new home when she said, "In this house, only my food is respected." But when she tossed my dish into the bin in front of my husband's guests, she didn't know she had just insulted the one person who held her son's career in their hand, my boss. And that day changed everything. Layla was a quiet and kind woman from Rwanda who loved to cook. Cooking wasn't just her job, it was her way of showing love. She recently married Musa, a smart and ambitious man who worked in a big bank. Layla was excited to start her new life with him. When she moved into Musa's family house, she wanted to do something special. She spent the whole day preparing a delicious traditional feast, using recipes from her childhood. Every dish was made with care: soft plantains, spicy goat stew, fresh vegetables, and sweet pancakes with honey. Her hands moved with love, hoping this meal would bring smiles and maybe even help her feel welcome. But when she entered the house with the food, everything changed. The smiles she expected never came. Musa's mother barely looked at her. His aunts whispered and stared. No one offered to help or even say thank you. They looked at her as if she was just another stranger in the house, or worse, a servant. Even though her food filled the air with mouth-watering smells, the atmosphere was cold. Layla greeted everyone with respect, gently placing each dish on the table. Her heart beat fast, waiting for someone to say something nice. But instead, she heard silence and side eyes. Musa didn't say much either, too busy talking with his uncles and showing them around. That night, Layla sat alone in the room she now shared with Musa, wondering if she had made a mistake. She had offered a warm plate, but the house felt frozen. She had given her best, yet it felt like she was invisible. And deep down, she hoped things would get better, but something told her the worst was still to come. Musa's mother, Mwalimu, was not an ordinary woman. She was a retired school headmistress, and everyone in the community feared and respected her. She walked like a queen, spoke like a judge, and expected everyone to listen when she talked. In her mind, she was always right. And when her son Musa brought home Layla as his wife, Mwalimu made up her mind instantly. She didn't like her. Layla was soft-spoken, respectful, and always smiling. She tried her best to be kind, helpful, and loving toward her new mother-in-law. She greeted Mwalimu every morning with a cheerful, "Good morning, Mama." She made tea just the way Mwalimu liked it. She cleaned the house even when it wasn't her turn. She even offered to massage her legs in the evening. But no matter what Layla did, Mwalimu never said, "Thank you." She never smiled. She only looked at Layla like she was a fly on the wall. When guests came over, Mwalimu introduced herself with pride. "This is my house," she would say loudly. But when she introduced Layla, she would say, "That's Musa's wife. She helps with the cooking. Not my daughter-in-law, not Layla, just the helper." It hurt Layla, but she said nothing. She thought maybe, just maybe, with time, things would get better, but they didn't. If Layla cooked a delicious meal, Mwalimu would say, "Next time, don't make it so salty," even when it was perfect. If Layla wore a pretty dress, Mwalimu would say, "That style doesn't suit a married woman." Even when Layla sat quietly, Mwalimu would still find something wrong. "Why are you always hiding in the kitchen like a rat?" she'd snap. Musa saw some of it, but he often brushed it off. "That's just how my mother is," he would say. "She's tough, but she means well." But deep down, Layla felt like she was alone in that house. A stranger, a servant in her own home. She tried to stay strong, but every day felt like a test she couldn't pass. To Mwalimu, no woman could ever be good enough for her son. She believed Layla didn't deserve him. She thought Layla's quiet nature was weakness. But what she didn't know was that the same quiet woman she looked down on was deeply respected outside those walls. Layla had something Mwalimu didn't see: quiet power. And while Mwalimu acted like a queen in her house, the real crown was resting on someone else's head. The house may have been hers, but respect is not claimed by force. It's earned through kindness. Mwalimu had no idea that the woman she was belittling would soon change everything. One evening, Musa came home looking excited. He walked into the kitchen where Layla was peeling yams and said, "Layla, we're having an important guest for dinner tomorrow. She's a big person from my office. Very important. Please make something special." Layla's eyes lit up. This was her chance. Maybe finally his family would see her worth. She smiled and said, "Leave it to me. I will cook something they will never forget." Early the next morning, Layla went to the market with a full list. She picked only the best ingredient. She wanted the dinner to reflect who she was, a proud Rwandan woman who cooked with her heart. She planned a 7-dish meal with flavors from her culture, but with her own creative twist. She made spicy tilapia with peanut sauce, soft ugali with greens, sweet plantain chips, slow-cooked beef stew, banana fritters with honey, fresh mango salad, and a special lemon ginger drink. She spent the whole day preparing, her hands moving with skill and love. As the sweet aroma filled the house, some of the family members peeked into the kitchen. Even they couldn't deny the food smelled amazing. Layla dressed neatly and set the table with care. She was nervous, but hopeful. Maybe tonight, she thought, they'll see me differently. Musa wore his best shirt. She'll be here soon, he said. Her name is Madam Binta. She's very respected. Please, let everything go well. Layla nodded. Everything was ready. But just as she was about to bring out the dishes, Mwalimu stormed into the kitchen. Her eyes scanned the pots, and she frowned. What is all this? She barked. Where is the food I cooked? Layla replied gently. Mama, Musa said I should prepare something special. Special? Mwalimu snapped. You think this village food is special? This is not your father's compound. Then, in front of everyone, Musa, the cousins, even the maid, she grabbed 2 of Layla's dishes and dumped them into the bin. My food will be served, not this nonsense, she shouted. Layla stood there, frozen, her heart breaking in pieces. The house went silent. Musa looked shocked but said nothing. Guests were about to arrive, and now half of Layla's hard work was ruined. She quietly wiped her hands, tears forming in her eyes. All she had wanted was to be seen, to be respected, just once, and she didn't know it yet. But the woman walking toward their door would change everything. The evening air was filled with the rich, sweet smell of spices. Layla had finished setting the table. Every dish looked perfect. She had arranged the food with care, placing each bowl gently like it was a gift. Her heart beat fast with hope. She looked at the clock. The guest would arrive any minute. Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed in the hallway. Mwalimu, Musa's mother, marched into the kitchen with a sharp look on her face. She stopped and sniffed the air like she smelled something rotten. What is this smell? She snapped. Layla turned, trying to stay calm. Mama, it's the dinner. I made a traditional Rwandan feast for the guest. Mwalimu narrowed her eyes and walked to the pots. She opened one, frowned deeply, then moved to another. What is this nonsense? She shouted. Who eats this rubbish? You cooked banana stew? Fish in peanut soup? What kind of bush food is this? Layla's voice trembled as she said, It's from my home, Mama. It's something special. I worked really hard. Before she could finish, Mwalimu cut her off. Don't talk to me about working hard. In this house, we eat proper food. My food. She grabbed 2 bowls, one with the tilapia, the other with the plantain chips, and walked straight to the bin. With one loud motion, she dumped both dishes inside. Layla gasped. The sound of the food hitting the trash echoed like thunder. Her hands shook. Everyone in the house, cousins, nephews, even the cleaner, turned and stared. Mwalimu raised her voice again. In this house, only food that makes sense is served, not this village rubbish. Musa came in just in time to see his mother throw another dish in the bin. He opened his mouth but stayed silent, confused and unsure what to say. Layla couldn't move. Her heart was breaking. She had worked for hours, putting her love and culture into each meal. Now it was treated like garbage in front of everyone. No one came to defend her. No one stopped Mwalimu. Tears gathered in Layla's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She stood frozen, trying to stay strong, even as her soul was crushed. All she wanted was respect, a little kindness, a small place in this new family. And just as the last dish was dumped, a car pulled up outside. The guest had arrived, and unknown to Mwalimu, she had just thrown away food prepared by one of Africa's top culinary consultants, a woman deeply respected by the guest who was now walking through the door. The sound of the car door closing was like a bell that made the whole house freeze. Everyone turned to look. The guest had arrived. A tall, graceful woman stepped into the house. She wore a flowing blue dress, and her presence filled the room like calm water. Her smile was soft, her steps confident. This was Madame Binta, the special guest Musa had invited for dinner. She was a powerful figure at Musa's new workplace, But what no one in the house knew was that Madame Binta was also Layla's boss. She was the head of the African Culinary Institute, the same place where Layla trained chefs from all over the continent. Layla's heart jumped when she saw her. She hadn't known Madame Binta was the guest. Her mind raced. Had Madame Binta seen what just happened? As Madame Binta stepped into the dining room, she paused. She sniffed the air gently. There was a slight frown on her face, almost like something was missing. She walked past the table and glanced toward the kitchen. Then, very slowly, she looked toward the bin where the food had just been thrown. She walked closer, her heels clicking softly on the tiles. The house was completely silent. She looked into the bin, then back at Layla, then at Mwalimu. "I smell something familiar," she said quietly. Mwalimu forced a smile. Yes. I made dinner myself. I didn't want our guests to eat village food." But Madame Binta didn't smile back. Her eyes stayed on Layla. "Village food," she repeated. "That smell." It came from her hands. She pointed at Layla. Everyone looked shocked. Madame Binta turned to Layla. "Did you cook earlier?" Layla nodded slowly, not trusting her voice. "I thought so," Madame Binta said gently. "I know those spices. I've taught them. I've eaten meals prepared by this woman in 5 different countries." Mwalimu's smile faded completely. Madame Binta turned to Musa. "You invited me to your home, but your wife's cooking, which I was excited to taste again, is in the trash." Musa looked like he had seen a ghost. Silence. No one knew what to say. The proud Mwalimu, who just moments ago was shouting, now stood frozen. And in that quiet room, one thing became very clear. Mwalimu had not just insulted her daughter-in-law, she had insulted the very person her son was trying to impress. The air was thick. Respect had just walked in and exposed the truth. Everyone finally gathered at the dining table. The air was tense, but Mwalimu smiled proudly as she served her food. She acted like nothing had happened. Her voice was loud and full of pride. "In this house," she said, "we eat clean, respectable food, not strange village mixtures." She laughed loudly, hoping others would laugh with her. Some guests gave polite smiles, but most were quiet. Musa sat uncomfortably beside Layla. He hadn't said a word since Madame Binta arrived. Layla sat quietly too, her eyes fixed on her plate, her heart still hurting. Madame Binta took a small spoonful of Mwalimu's food. She tasted it gently, then placed the spoon down, very slowly. Her smile had disappeared. She looked around the table, then asked in a calm voice, "Excuse me, but why was your daughter-in-law's food thrown away?" The room went silent. You could hear the sound of breathing. Mwalimu blinked, surprised by the question. She laughed nervously. "Oh, it was nothing. Just a little misunderstanding. I thought it was not suitable for our guest, that's all." Madame Binta tilted her head. "Not suitable?" she asked softly. "Do you know who this young woman is?" Everyone looked at Layla. Mwalimu said quickly, "She's just my son's wife. She cooks, she cleans. Simple girl." Madame Binta sat straighter and said, "This simple girl trains top chefs across 5 countries. Her recipes are taught at my Culinary Institute. She is one of the most talented food consultants I've ever worked with." A loud gasp filled the room. Mwalimu's mouth dropped open. "I came tonight excited," Madame Binta continued. "I was looking forward to tasting her food again, but instead I saw it in the trash." She turned her eyes to Musa. "You should be proud of her, and you should protect her." Musa looked down, ashamed. Madame Binta stood up slowly. "Respect doesn't come from being the loudest in the room. It comes from knowing the value of those around you." Then she gently placed her napkin on the table. "Good evening." The room remained frozen. Mwalimu had no words. Layla's eyes filled with tears, but not of pain. This time, they were from the shock of finally being seen. That night, everything changed. The one woman everyone tried to silence had just been honored by the most powerful person in the room. After Madame Binta left the dining room, the atmosphere in the house changed completely. Mwalimu's proud smile disappeared, replaced by nervous looks and quiet murmurs. She tried to fix the situation quickly. "It was just a misunderstanding," she said, forcing a weak laugh. "I didn't mean to insult anyone. It was only a mistake." But no one believed her. Musa's colleagues and superiors, who were still at the dinner, started whispering quietly to each other. Some looked at Mwalimu with surprise. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Musa felt very uncomfortable. He knew his mother's behavior was wrong, but it was hard to stand up to her. He glanced at Layla, who sat quietly. but her eyes showed sadness mixed with strength. Later that night, Musa was called aside by the HR director from his company. They spoke in a low voice away from the others. "Your wife's connection is very important," the HR director said seriously. "She is known and respected in the culinary world. That night her boss was here. She could have easily stopped your promotion or even your job." Musa's heart raced. "But my mother, she didn't know," he said quickly, trying to defend her. The HR director shook his head. "Maybe not, but her actions almost cost you everything. You should be thankful your wife's boss was there and chose to protect you." Musa looked down, feeling ashamed. He realized how close he was to losing his job because of his mother's pride and cruelty. Meanwhile, whispers about the dinner spread beyond the house. People in Musa's office talked about the incident. Some admired Layla's calm and talent. Others criticized Mwalimu's harshness. At home, things were different now. Musa could no longer ignore the truth about his mother. The power had shifted quietly, and the house felt colder for Mwalimu. Layla, despite the pain, felt stronger. She knew that her place in Musa's life and work was more secure than before. She had earned respect, not by fighting, but by simply being herself. That night, the tide had turned. Mwalimu's arrogance lost its power, and Layla's quiet strength began to shine. And Musa, he was caught in the middle, learning a lesson he could no longer forget. Respect is not just about family, but about honoring those who truly matter. That night, the house was quiet but heavy with feelings. Musa sat with his head down, thinking deeply. For the first time, he did not want to defend his mother's harsh behavior. He saw clearly how much pain she had caused Layla, the woman he loved. Musa stood up and walked to where Layla was sitting. Everyone in the house stopped what they were doing and looked at him. His voice was soft but serious. "Layla, I'm sorry," he said. "I should have stood up for you sooner. You don't deserve to be treated like that." Layla looked up, surprised and touched. Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled gently. "Thank you, Musa," she whispered. Then Musa turned to his mother, Mwalimu, who sat quietly in her chair. His eyes were firm as he spoke. "Mother, you taught me respect when I was a child. You were my teacher. But how did you forget those lessons when it came to your own family?" Mwalimu looked away, unable to answer. The room was silent. No one moved or spoke. Layla wiped her tears and said something that made everyone listen closely. "I never came here to replace you, Mwalimu," she said softly but clearly. "I came to build a family. I want us to be united, to love and support each other." Mwalimu's face softened a little, but she still looked proud. Musa stepped closer and said, "Mother, we need peace in this home. We need respect, kindness and love. It's time to put the past behind us." Layla nodded. "I want to be part of this family, not an enemy, but that can only happen if we all treat each other with respect." Musa took Layla's hand gently and said, "From now on, things will be different. I promise you that." Mwalimu stayed quiet for a moment, then slowly nodded. It wasn't a big apology, but it was a start. That night, something changed. Musa saw his mother's cruelty clearly for the first time, and he chose to stand with Layla instead. It was the beginning of a new chapter for their family, one where respect and love could grow. Layla felt hope. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but with Musa by her side, she believed they could create a home full of warmth and understanding. For the first time in a long time, the house felt a little less cold. The week after that difficult night, something amazing happened for Layla. She received a phone call from Madame Binta herself. The elegant woman invited Layla to host a live cooking masterclass on national television. This was a big chance, one that could change Layla's life forever. Layla was nervous but excited. She spent days preparing her favorite dishes, ones that carried the taste and stories of her homeland. When the day arrived, the cameras rolled, and Layla stood confidently in front of the audience. She showed everyone how to cook with love, patience, and respect for tradition. As she cooked, Layla shared her story, the hardships she faced, the coldness in her new home, and the moment her food was thrown away. Her words touched the hearts of many watching across the country. People admired her grace and strength, how she never gave up and chose kindness even when treated unfairly. The story of the daughter-in-law who cooked with grace quickly became popular on social media. People shared it everywhere, praising Layla for her courage. Many women wrote messages saying they felt inspired and less alone because of her. At home, the news was harder to face for Mwalimu. She saw the growing support for Layla, and the shame started to sink in. The woman who once ruled the house with a cold heart now felt small and lonely. One evening, Mwalimu called Layla into the living room. Her voice was soft and full of regret. "Layla," she said, "I am sorry, not just to you, but to every woman I have ever treated badly. I was proud and stubborn, but I see now how wrong I was." Layla looked at her mother-in-law carefully. She could feel the sincerity in her words. "Thank you, Mwalimu," Layla replied gently. "It means a lot to hear that." Mwalimu nodded slowly. "I want to change. I want our family to be stronger, kinder, and I want to respect you as a daughter-in-law and as a person." From that day, things in the house began to change. There was more warmth, more laughter, and less cold silence. Mwalimu started to soften, and she even helped Layla in the kitchen sometime. Layla's cooking masterclass continued to be a success. Her dishes and story brought people together. She became a symbol of grace, strength, and hope for many. The new table in their home wasn't just about food anymore. It was about respect, love, and a new rule. No one's heart would be thrown away, just like no food should ever be. Layla, Musa, and even Mwalimu began building a family where everyone mattered, a family where kindness was the main ingredient. After the healing began at home, Layla's life took a beautiful turn. She opened her own food consultancy called Table of Peace. It wasn't just about cooking. It was about helping women who felt trapped in hard, painful homes. Layla taught them how to find freedom and strength through cooking, the same way she had found her own courage. Every day, women from different places came to her for guidance. They learned recipes, yes, but also learned how to stand tall, believe in themselves, and build new lives. Layla's warm smile and kind words gave them hope. She showed them that cooking could be more than just feeding a family. It could be a way to heal and grow. Meanwhile, Musa saw how strong and brave Layla had become. Together, they decided it was time to leave the old house, the place where coldness had ruled for too long. They moved into a new home, one they created with love and respect. It was small, but full of light, laughter, and warmth. In their new home, no food was ever wasted. Every meal was cooked with care and eaten with gratitude, and no love was ever disrespected. Musa and Layla built a life based on kindness, trust, and partnership. They shared dreams, hopes, and the joy of building a family on their own terms. Layla's journey from being hurt and ignored to becoming a leader and healer inspired many. People saw her rise like a queen, not with a crown, but with a heart full of courage and grace. She proved that no matter how hard the struggle, with patience and love, anyone can change their story. Her consultancy, Table of Peace, grew bigger each day, touching many lives. Layla became a symbol of hope for women everywhere who wanted to break free and build a better future. At last, Layla and Musa found the peace and happiness they had always dreamed of. A home where respect ruled, and love was the most important ingredient of all. Did this story touch your heart? Too many women suffer in silence, but Layla showed us how grace can win over cruelty. If you believe every woman deserves respect and every home should be built on love, then, like this video, comment, "Respect starts at home." Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more powerful African stories that speak truth, heal hearts, and uplift voices.